welcome to this new adventure. As I promised, and I keep promising, I want to teach this book from the beginning to the end. It's going to be exciting, and readily we are here when we want to have the insights coming to you so that you can be motivated to pick this book, not only to read, but to share the insights with the young people. Today, we want to talk about what is contained in chapter 1 of this book. It has got so much, but I want to keep the main points coming to you. And today, we want to look at what are the real experiences of the young people that causes their cry. That is what I want to share with you, so that when you have this copy with you, when you get to share these insights with some people, you at least know why I had to write this book and what I had from the young people. Now, with this, what will be our concern today is connected with what is happening around us. And for sure, when we hear about the young people and their lives, majority are living in a very tough moment, situations that are making them really lose hope in life. And that's why when us who are concerned about their well-being, we want to give them the right information, the encouragement that they are looking for them to keep making informed decisions. The truth is, challenges are there for everyone, but more are to this young generation that is trying to make their ends meet. And that's why when I keep listening to them, I get to get connected to them and sharing their experiences. It makes me feel or become conscious of the need that I need to respond to, which is not easy sometimes. But one thing I have believed and I will always look at is young people need to accept the reality that for them to make it in life, they need to be ready for the process. And the process starts when I want to share with you in this book the basic principles that I have said from the last lesson, what we said, the 5 questions. Now, we have some 14 aspects that are real concerns of the young people. Number 1 is about peer pressure. Now, tell me, when did you find yourself last pushed to the corner because of your peers? One thing I know, every one of us has gone through certain experience, good or bad, with peers. And mostly, when it comes to young people, the peers, to some extent, can support them to become who they want to be. But sadly, and in some occasions, some peers have become a real pain in their lives. And this has caused mostly misunderstanding between the young and their parents. When the young try to trust their peers, thinking that their parents are not giving them the best, they create a gap because some believe that peers can be good friends than their parents. Well, there is no way you can have good friends that will be against what your parents will wish you. But I don't also say, or I don't deny the fact that some parents may not be good friends to their children. So either, let's question that. Can we have parents doing what they are supposed to do, at the same time having the peers doing what they are supposed to do? Now, there is that moment in life, again, when you lose your peers, you feel like a fish out of water. Because this time mostly is when you are in trouble. Yeah. I've known, and sometimes I had experiences, even what these young people have recorded is what some peers have caused them go through. Sadly, when you realize in listening to the peers, if they say today we are going to drink, you may go and drink the whole night. And after drinking, who controls what happens? Sadly, the drink may end up controlling everyone, and the consequences are grievous. When pregnancies come, one thing I know, you will be separated from your peers for at least 9 months. If you are lucky, they will feast you. But if you are not, oh no, you will be alone. And that's why in this book, I've recorded what one young girl said: I better control myself before I'm controlled. Now you know that you need to be cautious about peer pressure. You need to question who are you working with and why and where you are going. Concern number 2 is about the issue of boarding schools. I know when boarding schools came to this country or they started operating, every parent was like, their issues were solved. But one thing that many of the young people are still questioning, and they have questioned rightly, and I had to record it, is when they asked me, Father, how will you feel when a parent sends a 7-year-old to a boarding school? At that age when the separation is taking place, what does the 7-year-old knows when they are motivated by their parents to go to a boarding school? Would you say that they care for them, or they care much about their work? I had no answer to tell them, but one thing I know, yes, boarding schools, as much as they are good, they are giving us the best support to the parents, sometimes the age of these young kids joining the boarding school has left them torn apart, has left them separated to be tortured. Hard life they have gone through, and they have no one to share with. They keep growing with this kind of goons. And rightly, in the book, I have expressed what is happening between the parents and their kids who are in the boarding school. Conflict of interest. And the question they ask, who should make a choice which school they need to go? They don't deny to go to boarding schools. But what they expect from you, parents, is you involve them in making the right choice. And when they make a choice which school they want to go, you may be patient with them as you allow them to go bond with the second home. But the second home also, with those who have responsibility, they need to make it conducive. Because who would want to call a place a home that is not making them happy? No one. So we know we need to work. Nothing that is impossible. They are committed to support the boarding system, but also the management of the boarding schools should take it seriously, that they need to take serious care of these youngsters when they are in those institutions. Because a good environment helps anyone, especially the young, to become better and grow to realize their dream. The third concern about the young people is about the disappointments in families. Just remove this when you remain with appointment. It's something that you can celebrate. But the disappointment, what can it bring you? Now, why should young people talk about the disappointment from the families? All is right. And we all know no one will ever plan for bad moments. But it's right and it's necessary to start planning what should be done when bad moments come into our life. And this, when I kept talking to these young people, whatever they express to themselves that has made them also get lost comes rightly from when their parents are lost. What can cause their parent to be lost? Maybe when they lose their jobs, maybe when they become sick, or something happens in their family. And instead of the parents holding to what is supposed to be held to, quarrel comes, drinking takes over, separation. Now look what you leave your kids facing. It's not easy. They are left to cry. They are left in a lost ocean where they don't know which direction to go. And that's why in the book they have vowed to accept when their parents are disappointed from their own lives, even by themselves, but they are ready to get united with you as a family to help each other to attend to the needs that can make the life in a family work. And there are three things that they want to do or they want to tell anyone in their family who may be going through disappointing moments. One, that self-discipline and determination can always change lives. When the worst has happened in our lives, we need to sit down, know that we need to tighten up, avoid what is necessary, come back and focus on what can save us. Look, especially when now all youngsters we have during this pandemic period are out of school. Everyone is being called to the self-discipline from their parents to their children to be determined on the real life values that can take them out of the agony that they may be going through. Self-discipline is the best drive in your life. Number two, the word that can give you or anyone that is disappointed is rightly, when I say in this book, seeking help. No one will make it. No one will, wake up one day and have it right if they have not had someone to help them. Even my own self, when I was doing this work, I know I can write, but I am not the one who will design it. I'm not the one who will edit it. I got someone to help me do it. But when all this is done, I always kind of ask, who is going to be in my team to assist me do what I'm supposed to do? Even in our upbringing of our children, even in our own lives, we need to seek help from time to time. And number three, on how to face disappointment, is when we have the positive mind that failure is not the end of life. John Maxwell says this: unless you change failure to be your best friend, then you will never get it right. Now, ask yourself, why should many people fear to fail? And what should be done so that when failure occurs, when things go wrong, how should we pick it up? And this is what we need to realize. Listening to others will help them manage their bad experiences. I've done this and I will continue doing it. Not that I enjoy listening people going through crisis, but it's because I believe by creating time for them, I will help them have the connection or repair what they didn't do right. And that's something that we can all do. So that when we move to aspect number 4 or concern number 4, there's something that we cannot forget. That in our family, we expect the young or the children to be taken care of. It's like a cradle. A cradle only has a meaning if there is a young child in the house. And it loses the meaning when there's no young kid. Maybe you can put it even your dog to sleep in, your chicken to lay eggs in it, when you don't expect, if you don't want to donate it to someone who is still young with parents or with kids here. But what we realize here, that is, I want to talk about seriously as a concern for the young people, is the abuse they are going through. How many times have you seen kids being disciplined for something that is so minor that leads to their injury or even death? What kind of discipline will that be? How many cases of rape have you seen? How many kids will you see in the streets? Will you say that they were being taken care of and they didn't see that care for them to choose to be in the streets? These are the questions these young people are asking us. How do they get themselves or their friends get themselves to the streets? It's because of certain levels of abuse right from their homes. And really, it's sad to have someone suffer because either we have contributed to that or we didn't take heed to go to help them when they were being abused. There's a story in my book you will find where I talk about a young kid who went to school with a friend. They were very good. But this young girl never got excited to go home as to come to school. So if a friend didn't know why every time evening came, this young girl was not ready to go home. It came to one day when she started having bad health and performing poorly. And the worst of that day, when she fell in class unconscious, after getting some attention, this small girl got concerned. What is it? What is causing you? Or what are you suffering from? Only this little girl to open up to say how much she suffered under the hands of her stepmother. That drained or her joy of going always back home. And this young girl went to her parents, pleading with them, "Please, will you adopt my friend?" That bad incidents that happened in the life of these young ones created a new bond that made them make a step of requesting the parents to adopt this young girl. It happened, and a life was saved. If you are a parent and your kid goes to seek refuge in someone's home, what will you do? In fact, the question they asked me, Father, if you found one day you get outside the house and you find a little child shielding themselves from cold, what will you do? Will you ask them where their parents are? Or will you first attend to them before you question where their parents are? Parents have the responsibility to give the best care of the children. But also then, even children, when they have gone through this abuse, you don't need to keep waiting to be abused, but you can make a choice. I've quoted Nick, which is when he says this, he was asked once when he was talking to young people, what kind of parents do you have to accept you without legs? He says, or he responded to the young people, that I thank God that in this world I have the best parents. Now, what does that really mean, to have best parents? Because they accepted him as he was. Parents, a question right to you. Are you able to accept your children the way they are? Children, are you able to accept your parents the way they are? In accepting each other, we see the gift of God in every one of us, the uniqueness of God coming through us. And that ability to see that in each and every one of us, there is something unique we are able to do. You can't take time to become conscious of this. You should never delay to start working on it. Concern number 5 that is affecting young people is when they ask this question, what affects children in their homes? Now, we have talked about the abuses in the homes, but generally, families are going through tough moments, and especially now, if you are asked, what is happening in your family right now? Have you contributed to what is happening? And what will you be ready to do to change the situation? From the teachings of the Catholic Church, we realize that a family is a communion of persons imitating the Holy Trinity, where we have God the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit working in unity. Perfect unity. Our families may not have that perfect unity, but is that what we look up to? And in that, the teachings of the Catholic Church continues to say that procreation is the first responsibility of the parents or for a couple, but not forgetting that they need to take care of the education of their children and general upbringing, that is shaped or guided by prayer. Now, what is prayer? In some cases, some saints have given different definitions. For me, there is one I love most from St. Teresa of Avila. She says this: prayer is an intimate relationship with the one I love most, or the one who loves us most. Now imagine when a family, in all its undertaking, will have it right that they are intimately communicating with the one who loves them most. How will that be for our young people? If they learn from us that we need to create that family right from home, when they go, wherever they go, I'm very sure they will keep it. So parents, you have the challenge. And this challenge is not easy, but you can overcome it. The reality today is we are losing the right models of family life. And that is what is worrying many. We cannot look to the Holy Family, that is Joseph, Mary, and the child Jesus, and see what was happening. And we know what scriptures, that children are asked to honor their parents so that they can have long life. You can confer that. Exodus 20, verse 12, or Deuteronomy 5, verse 16. This is well recorded in the scriptures. It is God's word coming through us, insisting that children should respect their parents, which is okay. And we learn from Christ himself. Luke chapter 2, verse 51. He kept obeying them, and they grew in wisdom. Now, if that is exactly what Christ did when he was young, and we hear when Paul writes the Ephesians about, yes, the parents respecting the children to obey their parents, as the parents should respect their children. Now these young kids, or the young people, asked me this: Father, should we keep obeying abusive parents? If you were the one, what were you to tell them? When their parents don't do the right thing, do they deserve to be respected? A big question there. But I told them, still, they can't doubt the word of God. When things go wrong, the only thing that we need to trust in is the guidance of God. And it is this which I will always encourage these youngsters to hold to, for them to have it right. So young people, yes, we cannot get parents in a shop or anywhere. They may do wrong. We need to always remember they are our parents. When they have not done the right thing, what we need is to pray for them. And in any case we need help, we need always to look up to good, respectable neighbors, relatives, or even spiritual guidance. But remember, God has given them to us as a gift. We should at all times respect them. This brings us to aspect number 6 that young people are questioning or are concerned about. It's about the girl child, as it's put in this book, and our problem. I know for some time, and this is rightly in our country, we have talked about girl child empowerment, which was very brilliant. Everyone knows so much programs came to empower the girl child. But no one asked themselves, what did this leave to a boy child? And why has the girl child been presented as a weakling? How would she ever get to compete rightly with a male child? What we have ended seeing is the negative competition. When all children were taken to school, that is, the girl child was taken to school, the male child decided to give up. Majority, as shared by the young people in my book, they ended up dropping out of school, doing other things. Now we are going to have well-educated girls. And my worry will be, where will they get well-educated boys to marry? A gap that was created because of this approach has created a crisis that today we need to address. And I love what Dr. Gift Guru Mona has written, a poem about praying for this girl. And this is what she says. Lord God Almighty, sanctify her unique journey. Save her from the cruise of the enemy. Shield her against any brutality. This brutality can only end when we are going to have these girls and boys sitting down, learning how to respect with each other and how to cooperate to work to change their lives. It's not going to be an easy engagement. It is going to call them coming together, looking at issues that are affecting them, for them to start moving on. This is what we need to remind our young people without taking sides. Aspect number 7 that they are concerned with, and rightly here present, which many will not want to hear, is adolescence. Tell me, what do you remember about your adolescent stage? Did you like it? What did you do? Some of us, we might have experiences that we don't want to remember. But in my book, The Truth from Within, I've always said, in us, we have that potential given that we need to treasure. Then in our whole life, that book that I wrote, Our Whole Life is a Mission, I say this. During adolescence, it's the time you start discovering who you are. And how I start getting connected with the people around me. Some of us, we are wounded by what we were told when we were adolescents. The same way, in this book, I've had the experience of the young people saying, most parents don't know what to do with them when they are as adolescents. They are not respected. Everyone thinks that they cannot do things right. And that has kept them worried. At what age then can they be allowed to be themselves? I know it's not easy, but we can change all that is happening. And they have told us rightly when they share their experiences, we need to start realizing that adolescents are as human beings like any of us, and this stage of adolescence should be seen like a bridge that is connecting their childhood and adulthood. Imagine if you were driving or walking, reach where there is a river, a big one, and there is no bridge. What will you do? Obviously, you will need to look for ways of crossing that. But if it's big and there's no bridge nearby and you don't know how to swim, it's as good that you have reached the end of your journey. Let us not make these young people feel that their life ends when they are supposed to discover themselves or to create that preach to their adulthood. These are 7 of the points that I've had in this experience. We are going to meet in the next session where we'll bring the list of the 7 points. The points that I want to make that big clear when we want to start journeying with the young people is what at least they have shared with us. And as we look forward, us also to help them deal with what they have raised. I want to wish you all the very best. As you go through this, listen to it and try to apply it to the young people around you. May you keep focused, knowing that there is no challenge that will never bring something beautiful. The beauty is only in the process of trying to understand what is happening in your life for you to have that bridge. We want to see how to create that bridge between adolescence and adulthood. Keep safe and wait for the next session.